Welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below if you've seen any of these movies, what you recommend out of this dystopian movie challenge for September of 2024, and of all of the other movies that I have on my priority, let me know your suggestions and what movies you will be watching, whether it's a theme or just general watches as well. Of course, this is everything that's just in my physical media collection or what I picked up at the library recently. And of course, it includes a couple other subgenre themes, which is based on directors, one I want to rank on this channel. So we're going to get right into it with Tim Burton. That's on my priority list first with Beetlejuice now coming out in just this Friday. And so we got Mars Attack, never seen, and I've already started watching some of his films. I don't own all of his films on physical media, but I got streaming, or I can rent whatever's missing from the collection. And we got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I might be rewatching Wonka and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This is the one I haven't watched for quite a few years now, 10 plus years. So it'll be interesting to see my interpretation of that movie. And next up we have Big Fish. This is one I have not seen. And then, of course, we got Beetlejuice. Now, I'm waiting for closer to the release to actually watch this one, so I get a little fresher mindset, but hopefully I'll be able to watch more of Tim Burton's movies, complete his filmography, because I've seen about half of his films in the past. He's about a 20-film list, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be fun just to check off another director if I get the time to. Next up, we got the Batman 4-movie collection from 89 to 97. I'm definitely watching the first two. I actually already watched the first Batman in preparation, and I have seen all 4 of these, but it's been a while, so maybe if I have the extra time, I know September 18th, I believe, is Batman Day, and maybe I'll be able to do a Batman ranking of some sort if I do get around to rewatching some of those. And in addition to that, if I do get the time, we got the Batman from 2022. I love this one. I haven't watched it since 2022, if I'm not mistaken. It's a bit of a longer one, but it's definitely worth the time if I do get a chance. Next up, we got God's Not Dead 1, 2. My parents have 3, and then I did get from the library God's Not Dead 4, We the People. This is the one I have not seen. I have not seen all of the God's Not Dead movies in a little while. I grew up in a conservative family, and so it's interesting to see my interpretation now that I'm watching a lot more other movies, and I tend to interpret the stories very differently because back then I wasn't watching nearly as much movies. I wasn't looking for the flaws or what to degrade from the movie, so it's interesting to see what will happen with God's Not Dead 5 coming out, which I don't believe this should really be a franchise, but of course by attaching a title to it that people recognize, it's going to sell more money rather than just having all of these subtitles be the main title that won't draw people in, of course. So that would be quite interesting. Next up, we have Friday the 13th collection. I have watched all of these movies for the first time, or well, some of them I watched before last year, but I finished this franchise last year. I might rewatch and maybe, depending on the time, watch the whole franchise again, because we got another Friday the 13th in September, and maybe I'll be able to get my ranking out by then if I'm able to remember or have adequate notes for me to actually make the ranking video. So hopefully that will be coming, whether I watch a few films or just whatever I get to from that. Next up, we got another franchise on the priority list, whether I need to rewatch the whole thing or not. We got Transformers. We got Transformers 2, 3, which is The Dark World. We got Age of Extinction. And then the last night, I do not have Bumblebee or the latest one from last year because we got this new animated feature. And so it'll be interesting exploring those again. I watched them for first time last year, and I may just give them another chance, or a few of them, just like the Friday the 13th franchise. Have a lot of movies on my checklist, with also the actual movies I need to catch up in theaters and on streaming, and other 2024 movies I missed from this past year. And next up on the priority list, as I finish this stack and try not to knock things over, we got The Cotton Club and Finland's Rainbow from Francis Ford Coppola. And I am going to watch more. I know I watched some of his movies earlier this year, and we got Apocalypse Now. Hopefully I'll be able to rewatch that. If not, just remember it for my ranking, because Megapolis is coming out, and I forgot to mention, Megapolis is one of the main reasons why I'm choosing dystopian sci-fi, besides just loving sci-fi in general. Just being able to include that on my list, since Megapolis is dystopian sci-fi, and generally include that in my rankings. We got The Beguiled. I haven't seen this one, and I've only seen about 3 of Sofia Coppola's filmography in general, and maybe if I do get done with Francis Ford Coppola, I can watch all of his daughter's films as well, maybe get a ranking out for that as it's still relevant. And of course, some of this is wishful thinking, just based on how many films I want to choose, what I end up choosing to watch, including all of the 2024 movies that I missed out on. Star Trek, we got 1, 2, and 3. I put that order, but this is the reboot series. I've never seen the complete franchise for Star Trek, even though Star Wars is a franchise that really got me into watching movies a lot more, helped me to create this channel with Star Wars The Last Jedi, with my opinions on that. And so I'm definitely overdue on trying to watch this series. I've only watched the first 2 of the reboot series and the first one of the actual older movie series. I haven't watched any of the TV series. I get a little bit easier into movies than shows, and so we'll just start out with the movies. It'll be a little bit easier to handle. Hopefully I'll be able to check that off what I'm watching in my franchise watch list in general, to be able to rank that for you guys. I know there's a Star Trek Day or something on September 8th. I don't think I'll be able to watch all 13 movies or whatever it is by then, but I got Paramount Plus. I can watch all of the original movies on there. So let me know down in the comments below what suggestions of franchises you have, whether related to dystopian or in general. And next up, we got the Hunger Games franchise. It's a dystopian movie franchise, and I got only the first one on Blu-ray, and the rest are on DVD. I don't have 5, and hopefully I'll be able to maybe upgrade the set, just buy the 5 film set on Blu-ray just to have them all, as well as get the new one. But hopefully that'll be on the checklist of what to watch if I can get around to it. I have seen them all before, but it's just feels like it's been a while, even though it only just last year, but wanting to rewatch them, because that just gives me a fresher take on how to rank it if I do a video for that on the channel. Next up, I only have the 2018 reboot of Predator from Shane Black. Since I finished all of the Alien franchise for the first time, it should be hopefully getting into the Predator franchise, hopefully before the end of the year, if not within September, when I have a chance, just as a follow-up to the Alien franchise, since they're connected just by the Alien versus Predator movies. And another option that is for me for dystopian sci-fi, we got the Cloverfield films. I have the first and Cloverfield Paradox, which I've seen the first before. It's been a few years, but I know the 10 Cloverfield Lane is somewhere else on streaming, or I'll be able to find it out of the library. And so that's another quick trilogy I could possibly get through this year, or this month in general. And then another dystopian or general sci-fi in general, we got the RoboCop original trilogy I found at the library on Blu-ray, so that was an awesome find. And then I've had RoboCop reboot for quite a while. I got from the Dollar Tree when it was still $1, and so this is another franchise I've heard good things, especially about the original. Just the first one, I haven't heard as much about the sequels, so this could be a trilogy plus reboot franchise that I may get to, depending on what you guys want me to prioritize. And it's been a few years since I've seen the Back to the Future trilogy, and as a time travel fan in general, like, I should be watching this a lot more often, but of course I'm often more wanting to explore new movies than go back and revisit film, so it just depends on what goes on with that. But I am wanting to get a fresh take on what my opinion is on it now, and seeing if any of them sneak into my favorite films of all time. Next up, we got Resident Evil. I saw this is Dystopian Sci-Fi films franchise, and I know there's another one and maybe some animated ones. I don't know if I'll get to the animated ones, but this could be another one on my checklist. I know I saw my friend AJ Reacts to watch them for another rewatch recently. They weren't too bad of ratings, and I'm wanting to look through this anyways. And so I found this at a thrift shop for under $3 when it was on a tag sale. And so this was definitely worth the deal, even if I don't get to it this month. But why not add it to the watch list now that I have the priority in the theme month that I have? And going into some of the lesser priorities, just because they're not necessarily part of a franchise, but ones that I want to watch or experience for the first time or haven't watched in a while. Now, related to it is I Am Legend. I just picked this up just in my most recent haul. It's been a couple years, but I do love this one. It's sort of post-apocalyptic. Will Smith on the run and with this dog. From what I remember, I don't remember as much, but just trying to survive. And so it should be another survival film that I love, as well as V for Vendetta, another one I haven't watched in a couple years. And one that's, I have a few in here that are long overdue I need to watch. We got Gravity, never seen it. Huge sci-fi fan. I've heard this is a slower paced one that I'm into those sort of movies if the world is built up right. So this should hopefully be higher up on my watch list. I know it's Alfonso Cuarón. I love him as a director, so hopefully I'll get to that. Blade Runner, The Final Cut. I watched Blade Runner 2049 just this previous month, or back in March when I was watching Denis Villeneuve, and hopefully I'll be able to get to this first one, give it another fresh new watch to see how it compares to my first watch. And we got Westworld, never seen this. I know it has a sequel called Future World. This one is from Michael Crichton, which I know is an author, so it'll be interesting to see how an author directs his films. I don't know if he wrote this book or put it to screen. Well, he did write the film. I don't remember if it was a book he is adapting onto screen with a screenplay he written or vice versa, but either way, that's on my watch list. And another one I found recently at a thrift shop, Brazil. This is an odd and interesting one I haven't heard too much about besides a lot of love for it. Haven't heard specifics, and I try to avoid that when going into movies for the first time anyway, so it does look very interesting, a very interesting cover that does draw me in. And so hopefully that art draws up into the movie itself. And next up, we got a few library titles, or more than a few library titles, that are sort of, can be random. Some are sci-fi related, some are not. And so we got City of God. I watched this for the first time last year. It was really good, but there's a lot of questions I had about going into it, not the style I expected to watch from this film. I know there's an HBO Max series of City of God that just started streaming recently, and so that's why I decided to get this again. And I found out there's a sequel called City of Men that is tied to this, as well as the series that is tied to this movie. So hopefully I'll be able to watch this, find City of Men somewhere, and then start that series to see how it all ties up, and maybe I'll have a better understanding of the story, everything that's going on, and appreciate the cinematography with concept of understanding the narrative itself. Next up, we got The Odd Couple. This past month, I watched Glengarry Glen Ross, and I just love Jack Lemmon in there, and I haven't watched enough of his film, or I'm still trying to explore different actor filmographies, especially of older films, and The Odd Couple I got recommended by a good friend of mine on Instagram, The Merc with the Movies. Go follow him. He has a great page just talking about everything about movies, but this could be a good comedy. I'm not always into comedies. Could be a hit or miss, but if it's a good slapstick or something along the lines, not knowing what to expect, could be a fresh new watch for me to experience with that one. Next up, we got the Battle of Algiers. Don't know if this is anything about sci-fi or whatever, but I've heard good things about this, and it just looked intriguing, just being on the shelf like that. Good cover and everything, good representation of something, and I'm wanting to explore more foreign films, both new and old. So this was one I wanted to check off the list, and I should have put this first in the pile, based on my theme of Megapolis and connecting that to dystopian sci-fi, but we got Metropolis, the 1927 film from Fritz Lang. Everything is long overdue for what I need to watch, but of course I can't watch everything, and so hopefully this is definitely higher on the watch list of the non-priority franchises that aren't connected to anything. I don't think Megapolis was directly inspired by this, but the similar titles and dystopian sci-fi just could have a direct tie-in to each other of what you may expect with either one. This one is a silent film, so obviously very different, but the way it works, its music, and just the highly regarded reviews is what really is pulling me into wanting to watch this. And we got the Total Recall with Schwarzenegger. I haven't seen this one or the reboot from 2011, so I hope to at least watch this 1990 version, if not get into that reboot as well this month or the future. So that'll be interesting. Let me know down in the comments below, like I said, what you'd like to see me watch most. We got Delicatessen. This is another a director from Amelie, Jean-Pierre Jeunet. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but I do like Amelie. I know there's another film from the director I enjoyed as well, but Delicatessen, another foreign film I want to check off my list, just being related to Amelie and other films that I have seen, and just this is a sci-fi dystopian film, so might as well add that and tie it in to the watch list for this month. And we got Chronicle. I've heard great things about this film from 2012. I haven't seen many films from Josh Trank, the director, but it could be interesting just with what they do with the superhero powers, what it's all about. I don't know too much, but that's what could make it that much more fresh. Next up, we got Run Lola Run, another time travel one, and I've heard great reviews on this one as well, but again, haven't heard too much about that, have not seen it. Titan AE, one of my best friend's favorite films of all time, and it's been a few years back in 2020 when I ranked my best friend's films on a video, and so this is another one I want to revisit. It's tied into some things related to Star Wars, but not even directly doing it, and it still has somewhat of an original concept, and I still want to explore what its themes have to say a few years after watching it for the first time, so that could be another one higher on my watch list. And I got a few more that are completely unrelated to the theme, just to be able to watch, hopefully, if I do get around to it. Joan of Arc, another one on the IMDb 250 top favorites of all time, and I do want to check off more off that list. Maybe I'll have that as a theme in the future, just doing IMDb, really great films people are highly regarding, whether I end up liking them or not. And so Joan of Arc is another older one from 1928, so it should be a silent film, but I do remember certain iconic images. I don't remember ever seeing the film, and so I don't recall if I would have seen the film in the past, or if it's been so distant that I just wouldn't recall their memory at all. So that is on the watch list regardless, and we'll do this one next. Once Upon a Deadpool, related to Christmas, the PG-13 movie of Deadpool 2. This was one I have not seen at all. I'm trying to watch every Marvel movie ever, and so might as well watch this adaptation, even though it's not necessarily a different movie. It's sort of a different version. I'm sure there's different looks at how the film is portrayed that makes it different enough, give it a different rating than what I gave Deadpool 2. In respects to whatever it should be responded as, to include it in a ranking in the future. And last but not least, at least of what I have in my collection from the library and my physical media collection, we have Once Upon a Time in the West, another one from the IMDb list that I know someone else on Instagram has been going through, been liking what I've been following from Cinema Collect. Go follow him as well. And Once Upon a Time in the West was mentioned and the title name of Only Murders in the Building Season 4 Episode 1. So I might as well go into this one just not having seen it before, not knowing what to expect. I know there's iconic images or certain tie-ins to how it may have played out in the Only Murders episode. And so this could definitely be interesting. Wanting to watch more westerns and more movies tied into Sergio Leone and him as a director. So that's just my watch list for the month of September 2024, dystopian sci-fi, and just other films that I'm interested in. Let me know down in the comments below what you recommend most out of any of these films, or if there's any franchises or direct films that you recommend for me to watch as part of this theme that I could put in priority list over one of these films. And let me know all that in the comments below. Like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you haven't already to join in the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.